Okay.
All right. What's going on, everybody? Um, so I don't know if anybody knows this, but this is my mom, Mama Jade, um, aka E Dodge Newscast, and we know her by some other names as well. If you know her like that. And but welcome everyone. My mom got me doing an introduction on her channel. I love it though. And it's all divine. And I appreciate her asking me to do it because I guess that's really what it's all about is being able to have somebody you can count on and have being able to share too. So I appreciate you for sharing your channel today, Mom. Thank you.
I
Um,
appreciate you right back.
yeah, but welcome to E Dodge Newscast. I'm Oracle, aka Laree, and you got Mama J here. And today we're going to be talking about healing on your own, in particular, in regards to your maternal line and your relationship with your mother or your relationship with your daughters. Um, Really starting to have a discussion about it. I know it's going to be slow to get the wheels turning because it is a touchy subject, but I think, we're educated, intellectual, and gentle and compassionate enough to have these conversations now. And why not us? Why not start this conversation? Been talking to a few people that I know that definitely has some very strong responses to the post that I put up. And I guess I kind of want to go over that a little bit to start maybe because that's kind of what sparked all of this. I mean, you and I've been talking about doing this for a minute, but here we are actually doing it, and the post I think just kind of put a lot of fire under me to get things going. But in the post, I just was talking about how I think that we put a lot of energy into communities, and we don't put a lot of that energy into our families. And some of the feedback that I got, and um and I know this, people don't have stable enough families to even have a conversation or even go to anything like that. And I understand that. And I know that's why a lot of people seek refuge in these places of spirituality and religion as well. But so I'm not dismissing those cases. What I'm saying is we have very real relationships. Many of us have real relationships with our mothers and our daughters, and we're not trying to even activate them at all or even touch them at all. So I think even speaking these things out loud and talking about these things are going to bring a lot of action. It's going to be a lot of movement happening when we start having these conversations. So I wasn't trying to be dismissive of the people who really don't have it. And honestly, that's what I want to talk about today. Really getting into, going on a healing journey on your own. There's so many women who are in various situations with I kind of want to focus on the mothers today because honestly, the relationship with the mother because I guess putting ourselves in the position of the daughter today because just because of the feedback that I got and just talking about how a lot of us may have to take the journey on our own. um we I think a lot of us desperately want to have a certain relationship with our mothers, but that's just not the reality. So how can we still find real healing and go on this maternal journey? Because a lot of us want to be mothers, a lot of us are already mothers, and how can we become better on our own? So just really want to talk about that. I know I've been blabbing, but
No, you're actually doing really good. I just want to piggyback off of what you just said because actually in the description of this podcast, I put in there that is awesome. If you can go on this healing journey with the parties that need to be involved in your healing and their healing. However, if that's not possible, do not let that negate you still going on a path and a journey to heal. Because sometimes if we wait on other people to get on our bandwagon will just stay there and sink in the mud. So again, it's awesome if you have that mother or that daughter or whomever. Right now, we are talking about mothers and daughters, but it's whomever you need to be healed with. If you have to go on this journey alone, do it, because don't stay stagnant in that hurt, in that pain, in that loss.
Yeah.
Um, just keep going, if to heal yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Um, Again, if you have that counterpart to walk this walk with, do so. But if not, do not let that steer you from healing.
I totally agree. And I'm sorry, I'm just logging off this live so people can, make their way over to the channel. But yeah, I think I agree. I agree. I'm sorry. I had to turn my lap off because it was draining my thing. Oh, hold on a second. And then I wanted to, it's not letting me comment either. I see Gail in here and I wanted to say hey, but I guess I can say hey here. Hey.
Oh,
Hey y'all.
I wonder why it's not letting you comment. It should let
Oh,
you comment. Hey, Gail, thanks for joining us. I know chance. I'm not sure why you can't comment, but thank you for letting me know Gail was there because I didn't realize she was there.
well,
But
yeah.
yeah, as you were saying,
Yeah, that's definitely another core reason why we here. We we need to, I don't know, we need to start somewhere. Like,
okay, let's start. Let me ask you, what if a person does not know? I'm sorry, I had made quinoa earlier. Does not know that they may need healing. Like, what is the aha moment for a mother or for a daughter, whomever? What people just are very routine in their daily life, and they may lash out in anger, they may be hurt, they may be depressed, and that may be so normal for them, they don't realize that they may need to go on a journey for healing. How do they incite themselves, or somebody else incite them? How do they know it's time to heal?
honestly, I think different things to trigger different people for their healing journey. Um, I think, when you know how people do like interpretive art, or like they do certain things and it's like vulgar, but they do it in the name of like art and stuff like that to start a conversation. I think, there's so many things unspoken, and it's so many things unspoken, but like you said, like there's so much rage and anger that we express day to day with things we dissatisfied with these relationships. So it's like how do I don't know. I don't even know how to answer that. Honestly, I feel like different things is going to trigger different people. So
True.
I feel like some vulgar things are just things that are just like out there with it, that people be like, wow, maybe we should go home and have a conversation like this. Sometimes there is situations where it's very traumatic, where some people don't realize until, somebody's gone, that, they could have had some type of, maybe a better relationship in a better condition somewhat. So I think different things trigger different people. I think it's hard to get to someone who's just not there yet. I'm gonna just be honest. It's difficult. And I I've tried to like be that person to try to convince somebody to like change and like really persuade them, and I just realized, like, certain things people just don't, they're just not going to change. They're just not going to change. They're not going to agree just because you say, or just because you want to convince them. So I don't, people have to be called into their own healing. I feel like that's part of the spiritual journey. Otherwise, if you don't recognize that there's a problem, part of AA. The first step is recognizing you have a problem. So if you can't have that awareness with yourself, I think self-awareness, I talk about self-awareness a lot, but I think that's a big part of you realizing, okay, maybe I have some wounds I need to heal. But I would ask the same question to you, like, how do you think people should like how does that work for you? Like, do people just find their awakening, I guess, or some people fortunate enough to have it, watch alive and be like, you know what, maybe I need to work on that.
Well, I think your answer was pretty great, self-awareness. And then after just being self-aware, just understanding that you don't want to live in this hurt place anymore. You don't want to always be in this dark spirituality. You don't want to always have a confused mind. And I think all of that comes with, like you say, just being self-aware. Like, do I want to walk in life with this feeling? Is this really what life is for me? Is this what it's going to be for me? This inner turmoil.
Right.
So again, just being aware in wanting to make a change and not wanting to live in dark, and just live in light. You
Yeah.
know, people
And
use that love and light term very loosely, but that's real. I like when people wish me love and light, because I want to live clear as I can. We can't get it really crazy and think that we're not going to suffer different things living in this world, because this world is this world. So, but for the most part, overall, I do want to live in light as I can.
right.
So I think I applaud you, because that was a great answer, being self-aware. And then after that, just self-examining yourself. Like, I shouldn't be this hurt and this tormented every day, all day. I shouldn't, it has to be a better way. And then just wanting to, manifest coming out of that.
Yes, and that's the biggest thing I feel like is the self-awareness portion, is realizing that um that you're having these suffer attacks, you having these pain attacks, you going through kind of like pretty much mental breakdowns, possibly on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis based off of different turmoil in your life. I think that takes a lot to become aware of those things, especially when it comes to your most intimate relationships. I think a lot of people repress things. So when we talking about like motherhood and the relationship the daughter has with the mother, I think, as we grow up, we adopt a lot of mentalities from our parents and stuff. And I think a lot of things we just kind of repress. So being self-aware of something, it's hard to be self-aware of something that you repressing. Especially if you've seen other people repress it or ignore it or not talk about it or anything like that, it's gonna be very easy to just kind of let it slide by. I think what hey I think what it's crazy. I think if nothing else can change someone, I think time can. I think age can. I think vulnerability can. Um, I think when people get put in vulnerable positions and stuff like that, that can bring a lot of self-awareness. But then there are some people who they that don't work on them. They still keep carrying on the type of way that they carry on. So it's like I don't I just what I hope for is having some type of impact where yes, people actually want to start opening up about it, because this really isn't about to nitpick certain problems you might be having with your mom or something like that. This is really to talk about tools and communication, how like historical generalities that we can pretty much all relate to, and how can we move forward so we can have these real conversations in private and do the work, how we supposed to do the work. As far as what you and I want to do, we definitely want to start kind of creating a space for all women, mothers and daughters, to kind of come and again be able to pick these tools up. So it's not this secret thing, or we not having these tumultuous relationships with our mothers and daughters. um yeah, that the self-awareness is, I feel like, us making it a standard. I don't feel like we're going to be self-aware until we create a standard and create some type of etiquette about this in society, that especially if it's a black so-called black mother and daughter coming and setting standards. And there are other black mothers and daughters that work together, that show unity, and that ain't on this, not doing social media either. They just do what they do because that's what they do, and I commend them. And I definitely want to just take some time out and shout them out worldwide, because that is needed. That's the key for a lot of people, and they're the foundation and the backbone for a lot of families. So it's appreciated. So yeah, I think talking about it, I think making it a standard where it's like, well, this is how we roll. We don't roll no other way, So and I think that type of mentality, like, that it's a mentality I feel like everybody's scared of. They scared of the big mama mentality because they don't want to be seen a certain way. But the truth is, it's like, who's gonna really help keep people in line? Like, who kept people in line back in the day? Who was able to stop gunfights in the neighborhood and stand up to policemen and stuff and was never scared? Like, who was able to do that? It's like, we have to put our strength in each other. But yeah, I definitely, that's where I want to go with it. Um, I want to say something, one more last thing, but in regards to the ladies who don't have this structure for whatever reason, whether it be you're adopted, and you don't know your birth mother, or your birth mother, you are your adoptive mother, and you are estranged, or anything like that, your mother has passed, or you just really have a very traumatic, not healthy relationship where you can't talk to your mother at all, or you're not speaking to her on speaking terms, you can still go on the journey. And what you start with is, a lot of these women that are in these positions already have children. So what you need to do is, you need to be the big mama, and if you don't have children, you're the big mama of yourself. So you need to start commanding yourself in a certain way, and learning the things that you were never taught. It's crazy because you don't know what you don't know, but I feel like that's the reason why we're here too, because it's a lot of things that mothers did not teach their daughters. And we kind of grow up, and especially when you're growing up as children, you see things, and be like, oh, yo mom, your mom let you do that, or or my mama would never let me go out of the house like that. It's certain things that I feel like, weren't taught for upkeeping and home training and stuff like that. So just being a resource for that, I don't think that's funny to talk about that in a way when a young lady really hasn't been taught that, I don't think it's funny to joke about that. So I also want to be able to offer those things, like helping women with proper hygiene, and all those type of things.
Wow, you said a lot, which
Sorry.
is good. I'm just trying to know. It's really good. I'm just trying to remember, so I can partake in some of the conversation. I want to go back to something you said about stress and anxiety. I don't think what women or anybody realize, and this can kind of go back to my first question of you: how does one know that they may need to go on some type of healing journey? Um, Again, when we repress things, I had to learn this the hard way over 20 years ago. Like, when you repress things mentally and emotionally, it manifests itself in you physically. And usually it's not a good thing when it manifests physically, when you're repressing things or just burying things within your mental and your emotional state and your spiritual state. It manifests as, a lot of times, disease. That, take the word disease, dis-ease. You're dis-ease internally, so it manifests itself outwardly and physically. So that is a telltale sign, to answer my own question at the beginning, that you may need to go on some type of healing journey.
Of course.
Also, You were saying, just go ahead. It'll come back to me. I just want to
I was about to
elaborate
say,
on a couple of things that you were, you made some great points, and I just wanted to piggyback off of
I
them.
said, I was saying some things about, being a big mama of yourself and kind of honing yourself and figuring out what skills you can do to become a better woman. And talking about, the home training and just, your hygiene and upkeep. I don't know if that's helping to jog
It
anything.
is helping. It was more so when you was like you say, Big Mama is not teaching the young ladies anymore, like in the day of old, like she used to teach and guide. But what I want to say to the daughters and to the young lady, well, to the mothers of these daughters, that goes both ways, because I have a story where my daughter, said something to me when I was going through, it was a really rough time. And I, just like our daughters can learn from us, we can learn from our daughters as well. And we have to be open enough and respectful enough to do that give and receive, because this young lady at 17, 18 years old set me down and said some things to me that's still profound today, to this day. It wasn't anything disrespectful. I was just talking to you, what really expecting an answer. I didn't think a 17, 18-year-old can give me an answer to get me out of this fog I was in at that time. But the delivery you gave to me really, it really helped me. It still took me a while to come out of that, what I was going to, but just having that foundation that I was able to receive from you is phenomenal, even to this day. So I'm saying that for mothers who want to be like, I'm mama and you got to listen. No, it's a give and take. It's not always just because you are the superior being in the relationship. You're not always right. You don't always have the answers, and you definitely can learn from your children, or specifically your daughter.
Thank you. I mean, and I'm like, if that was one thing I learned, if I could teach you one thing out of the infinite amount of things you taught me, I'm like, I think that's something to be proud of. For sure. And I'm like, I think too, when you get older, it is give and take. I think we never really talked about how the relationship between a mother and a daughter changes as a daughter goes through puberty. We never really talked about that, just kind of amongst ourselves, like really deeply. But I do think the relationship changes because, and if people go with the saying that women are more mature than men, like women mature faster. Like, I do feel like by the time a young girl is in high school, if they are on a certain track and they have a certain mind, they're going to be thinking a certain way and having certain thoughts. So just being able to have a sounding board where you can even discuss those thoughts, and have some type of rapport about certain subjects, it's appreciated. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, to
The
be
Golden Empress says, she just said they see things from a different perspective. I'm not sure if she's talking about the daughters, um, and the moms, or the moms from the daughter, but I think pretty much it goes both ways. She's right. The perspectives are different because the experiences are different. The knowledge is different. So,
But yeah, I agree. I do feel like we see things from a different perspective, when daughters are younger and stuff like that. Like, I know there's a lot of things you probably had a different perspective on from your mother growing up. So it's like, that's why I was like, just putting ourselves in a position of being that daughter today, and like thinking about where we can heal on our own, with nobody present, in a room by ourselves.
and
You know,
that can look really ugly. Before I talk about that, but hey, Amp Easy, he said hello, Miss J. Hello,
hey,
Oracle. He loved the name, by the way. Greetings from. Oh, you in Vegas now, Amp? Okay, thanks for joining us, sir.
hey.
But what were we saying before I said hi to Amp?
We were talking about having different perspective because of the age, and goodness gracious.
I know. I just had a brain
I've been
fart.
sewing all day, so all my light bulbs went into my clothes. Uh, but No, we were just talking about just how we got different age, the experiences are different.
The experiences are different because the knowledge is different, and our where we are in life is different. So
Yeah, and I was like, you probably had certain insights, y'all know how it is. Y'all have
yeah,
certain
we was
insights,
talking
but
about
I think it's hard.
how that healing can be really ugly sometimes. It is in
Oh yeah, that's
and
what you
it
was
can
saying.
be, and there's a lot of guilt in some things because as a mother, I'm a mother and a daughter. So as a mother, I know I haven't done everything right. I have not um guided, like, hindsight is 2020. Looking back, there's some things I know that I could have done differently. So, and it can be really ugly, this healing thing, because sometimes as mothers we don't want to face our children in a way that we're perceiving that we failed them in their mind. That's hard, that's ugly, to think we failed our children in any kind of way. Like we we go through life, we doing things, we think we doing it right, and 20 years and they young adult, they say, hey ma, come here, let me holler at you. Yeah, X, Y, and Z. And that can be like, some moms know, like, you was a whole hell of a trip. But some of them really don't know. They really didn't know that their children had these things on their mind that they would talk to them about as a young adult. So again, healing can be ugly, it can be scary, it can render a lot of guilt. But you have to find a way to push past that. If the purpose is to heal and to go on, you have to get ugly before you get pretty. So
I agree, and I've gained a lot of compassion over the years, just learning about parenthood. Period, because I think children in general can be hard on their parents. Um, just because there's certain things that they need, and a lot of parents, they ain't looking at your birth chart and all of that stuff to see, to
I
try to,
wasn't, because I wasn't
you
I
know,
wasn't conscious of those things. So I did look. I'm like, okay,
and
my
even
I got
people
two
that
Libras
are
and a
doing it.
Pisces. I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, right. Even people that are doing that still can be depriving their children, in so many different ways. And I think a lot of things too in your childhood, you don't really know. That's why I learned to have a lot of compassion, because you don't really know what's bothering you a lot of times as you're growing up, until you get older and kind of realize, okay, why am I like this? And you kind of go on that journey. But I feel like a lot of people don't even get to that point where they start really sourcing why they are developed emotionally the way they are. I think that takes a whole lot to get there. But um nevertheless, um I learned to have a lot of compassion for parents and just growing up, because I just different stories, just intimate stories that I've learned about my personal family, just a lot of things, and just and realizing that just first off, when you're talking about mother-daughter relationships, you're talking about generations. So it's like your mom wasn't 5 when she had you. It was like at least 15 years, 14. It's like at least over a decade. So much stuff is changing. Then you come into the world, you don't even learn how to talk to you two. You don't really start moving about till you 5, 10. So by the time you're grown and old and cognitive enough to start forming these thoughts and really thinking, it's like you delayed, and they
Yeah.
didn't, your parents had already made them mistakes, honey. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people,
Mhm.
I think I had to realize too, like, people don't real like I didn't realize this, like, being in the moment of something. Like, I didn't realize that that was a thing, because I'm just an overthinker, I guess, like that. Like, I've always just been in my head.
You've always been analytical. Yeah, that's true.
So I never understood being in the moment, but I'm learning that now, and I'm finding joy of being in the moment of things and being more present, instead of, being cerebral and not and missing the opportunity to have joy in actual real time. But
Hmm.
on the
I
flip
think there's a balance. I think there should be a
side,
healthy balance.
it's a balance for sure, but
Yeah.
I definitely, feel like I've missed a lot of time, being in my head too much. But just in regards to going back to this, having that compassion for parents and realizing, like, some people are in a moment, they are living their lives, there is things going on, and people don't realize that, what we're here to do. Like, people's purposes come at different times in their lives, or what they're supposed to do. So it's like, and they might have had to do all of those things in that order, the way that it happened, for them to get to this point and be able to be what they are today, and be a pillar or be stable for us today. So I'm like, I'm learning to have a lot of compassion for parents and for my forefathers and for my foremothers, because the truth is, they got my stank butt here today. How
That's
about
true.
how about
However, that,
you could
yeah.
have been
Mhm.
the line, the mitochondrial line that got clipped, and 100,000 years ago, when the so-called meteor hit, we could have been
Right.
that line, like, or whatever. We could have been that, lineage that didn't make it, but we are here. So having
Yeah.
that compassion for, I guess, the big picture. Also, too, just coming into my stepmotherhood, because I know I'm rambling again, but I'm learning to have compassion for that as well, because having a blended family and stuff like that, it could be difficult, it could be hard for a lot of people, especially if you a young girl growing up, and just having that stable relationship with your mother. So just learning to have compassion for that as well, because it might be many things. Young girls get older and they be like, wow, I don't think that was right,
Mhm.
and shoot,
Mhm.
your mother might feel that way too, and who knows, y'all might be able to talk about that. But
Yeah.
I think the problem is, bringing up the problem, not getting any kind of response. So, what do you have to say about that? Like,
I want to come back to the step parent and stepmother and thing, but when we were talking about living in the now, Golden Empress said, yes, living in the now. And I just want to go back to another comment she made prior to that. She said, when we were talking about like birth charts and things like that, and how we just did not instill that, at least, my generation in our children, that's just wasn't on our radar. But she was, Golden Empress said that her mother called it evil when you talked about spirituality. And even right now today, as I'm learning it and getting more into when I think about it, I think I've always been spiritual. I just didn't know how to format it in words and express it. But I've always been spiritual as opposed to religious. But anyways, even right now today, some people look at that Golden Empress and will call people that spiritual people evil. So that's another whole talk show. Um, I will say that when you were able to give me words of wisdom, sort of encouragement, words of strength, I clap and pat myself on the back along with your dad, because for you to be able to talk to me and say those things to me at 17 or 18 years old does solidify what you were taught to an extent, and what was instilled in you, and what you experienced, growing up under us. So I applaud you, but I applaud us as well, because you got that from someplace, not just from us. Um,
we
I
had
do
Snoop Dogg moment. I would like to thank myself.
thank myself. Yeah, that's kind of me too. But yeah. So as far as the step parent, that's a whole nother talk show. But for you to be aware that is a conversation, and that is a thing, and that is another whole journey. I applaud you again, because it is. You have to know who you are. You have to really know who you are, where you're going, what your values and your morals are, to oversee another man's child or another woman's child, and to take that child in your heart and mind as your own, but still knowing it's not your own, but you will still sacrifice like it was your own. So, yeah.
Agreed. And yeah, it's a lot of women I know gonna be coming from so many different angles, and that might be an angle, having a stepmother and that's all you have. And anything like that. So I did want to say one thing too about the spirituality and the birth charts. I will say this, like about being in the moment and things like that. I think being intentional and things about your children, like sometimes you just don't know, and like I said, you in a moment and you're living your life. Like I don't think you have to have natal charts, you know, to have a intentional life about raising your children. I just think it's just like, again, self-awareness and being present. You know, people are awake at different stages in their lives. So you know, like, again, everything I learned got me here so that I can learn. And then when I have children, you know, being able to instill even deeper values, and then they'll grow up and teach me a lot of things, which I'm like, I'm thinking about all the stuff you say I taught you. And I'm like, what is my kids gonna teach me? I'm scared. Like, and all this with this humility, I am terrified. I'm like, they are going to like be trying to go to outer space and like do too much. Cause I'm like, you're gonna be
Real.
too much. Cause I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, we're gonna see. So I'm just like, you know, what's gonna top this? I think, you know, your children should be, I don't want to say better than you, but you should feel a proudness and like an advancement in your children. You should, and well, at least that's what I want to feel. I want to feel like, yes, you know, this is the next step forward. We're building something. You know, I want to feel like something is being built, that there is some progress. But I don't think you have to have natal charts. I think in being intuitive and getting in touch with yourself, everybody's not on a knowledge journey with their self all the time. So sometimes, you know, you might be in more of a survival mode where it's like, I'm just trying to work. You know I need to, you know, do these list of things, and then if I can play, you know, if I get a couple dollars to play, I'm gonna play a little bit, and then I'm getting back to work. You know, so that's a cycle, and it's hard for people to break out of that cycle. Like it's hard, like it's difficult, and that can strain a lot of relationships, especially mother-daughter relationships. But I don't think you need to have natal charts. I think in just being intuitive and stuff like that, and being more intentional about raising your children, you know, there's a lot of things that you can find out or your child can express to you. You just gotta want to tap in.
You have to, yeah, and be open enough to receive whatever you get, you know, the answer that comes to you. But Brunella is on here. Bella, she say, hi, my loves. Hey, Ladybug. Your words are pure gold. What are your perspectives on a relationship between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law? To me, that's still a mama and a daughter relationship, you know. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, historically, you know, it's been like, oh, the mother-in-law from hell. I think sometimes we instill that in our children or in young ladies, or, you know, media and entertainment may display that to them. Yeah. So in their head, they're thinking, oh, my mother-in-law is going to hate me. I'm going to hate her. It doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. However, it just depends on the personalities and the hearts and minds of the individual. Because overall, when I did have a mother-in-law, I was married a very long time, and I'm gonna be very honest. I'm not here to funk fake or pump fake, however the young folks say it. But overall, I had a really good 20-some year relationship with my mother-in-law, and when my marriage ended, you know, it ended in 10 months, separated, divorced, and he was pretty much remarried in 10 months. And my in-laws act like I never existed. Like that, maybe they didn't act like that, but that's what I received from them. Like they threw me to the curb, and I couldn't understand it because I'm like, I thought we all loved each other. You know, we were like family, like we were really overall really close. But, you know, to answer your question, to me, a in-law relationship could be great, but all parties have to be willing to be great in that relationship.
Yes, agreed. And I definitely want to talk about like, I think the big thing in this is being willing to come to the table, being willing to meet that person halfway regardless of the relationship. Amp Easy, he's so funny. But I think being willing, definitely having some type of openness in your heart where you could come to the table and just see who the other person is. Because honestly, especially if you're a mother and you seeing, you know, who your son or who your daughter is dating, you're already about to be like, and then she done started this new art career and now she done met somebody, you know, you gonna be on tip. Like you thinking about what your child already has going on, and then now they all, you know, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed over somebody new. You're definitely going to, you know, especially it depends on your relationship, you know, with your child. But there's a lot of parents that be like, okay, who is this next? They get nervous when they like, okay, their child is bringing someone new around, because you know they're concerned, they want to make sure, you know, they might know, you know, their child's past relationship history, and they like, woof, you know, I'm nervous. So I think, you know, it's being having some type of open heart and coming to the table, especially with the
Mhm.
laws, and just knowing how to let stuff go sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
and picking your battles and knowing what's worth it. Because at the end of the day, you know, just like you respect and love your mom, and you would, you know, do many things to protect your mom, you know, that's how your mate is going to feel about their mom. So you have to have the same respect that you would have for your mother. Absolutely, without a doubt.
M Easy says, not exactly my topic of interest, although I have a daughter. Shout out Miss J for raising, and Larry for becoming a very intelligent and well-spoken young woman. Blessings to you all. Thank you so much, Em. And I understand this probably is not, high on the list of your interest or topic to talk about on the podcast. But let me just say this: you have a daughter, and we're talking about mother-daughter relationships. But just since you made this comment, I just want you to know a father-daughter relationship is probably even more important than a mother daughter relationship, because who you are as a father to that young lady is who she probably will seek as a husband or a helpmate to her in life. So I thank you for your comment. I respect that, but I know you already know this, being a father, you know, a girl dad, that relationship and that connection in whatever path you guys are on, hopefully is a positive one, is you is unmatched. It's unmatched.
I can honestly say, yeah, it is, especially if you got a healthy and present father. It is a sight to see, you know. So shout out to all the black dads and the girl dads out there.
That's right.
Cause I mean, and I'm like, shoot, it's a lot of girl dads raising their daughters on their own. Cause it's these black men that stepped up out here. I don't know about that deadbeat dad. Um, saying,
Yeah.
I be seeing, I go to the grocery store, it be daddies in the aisles with their kids buying groceries. I'm not
Dads are very present. You know, I think some of that is just what the media want to portray our black men as, like deadbeat dads, or not present or absent, or out of 20 dads, one may be absent. So they're just going to put the camera on that one absent
lying.
father. But I see dads doing cheer practice with their daughters.
The ones
Um,
that can be there are
they
there.
can be there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely. I wanna segue back into the mother daughter relationship and talking about healing on your own, because I guess I want to give some ladies, like, I guess like maybe a top 3 startup list kit for them, like a little mental kit for themselves, so they can really start thinking about, okay, I know I gotta fix these wounds and I'm hurting bad. Like, these are for the ladies that already know, like, I'm you know, I need to heal something with this maternal situation. What's like 3 good tools, or I don't know, maybe techniques, mental exercises, journal prompts, like what can we give these women so they can really start a true and progressive healing journey so they can become better mothers?
The first thing, it could be the second or the third thing, I will say, look in the mirror and tell yourself, you forgive you. You have to start with forgiving yourself,
Hmm.
whether you the mother or the daughter. But you, as from a mother's perspective, you have to forgive you. You have to let go of guilt. You can't change yesterday.
Mhm. Mm. I agree. I agree. I think when you truly resolve and forgive yourself, and that's a whole journey. You got to go through a whole journey to get to forgiving yourself. But once you get there, yeah, I think it makes it a whole heck of a lot easier to verbalize and start talking about it. Um, you know, I would say one of the things that I would give to women that know that they have some things to heal is I would say start talking about it with to yourself, verbalizing these things. Because that's how I get to a point where I'm able to kind of,
You got to let it out.
yeah, you
When
have
you
to
keep
let
it
it go.
in,
So, maybe go on a car ride with yourself and just start talking about the things that you're hurt about. Because one thing I don't like to be is like stale and like hateful and just like I know first off, I know I have an attitude. Like that's number one. That's like a constant. That's like a constant baseline. Two, I am a smart butt. I'm a smart aleck, real bad. Like and that's just because I'm humorous and I'm sarcastic. And if I don't have to take it serious, I'm not. Like I'll only take it stuff serious that I have to. But aside from that, having like that hate in my heart and having that anger, because one thing I learned from someone, they told me that anger is like it's like a drug. It could become addictive. And what happens is when you start getting angry, you don't want to come down off of it and like
because
not
that adrenaline,
yeah,
some people like
start
that
finding
adrenaline rush.
to
Yeah.
set you off. Yes. Yeah, you find things that will trigger you so that you feel like you have a reason to justify your behavior. So I would say getting to a point where you can actually talk about it to yourself. I think that'll really help with forgiving yourself, because then you can verbalize what you felt was wrong, what you felt was right. And honestly, you definitely have to come to a point where and to see both sides. I'm like, I had to learn this. Like, you're not always right. You're not always, you might have a lot of good points, or you might always be used to getting your way, or whatever the case might be, but that doesn't make you always right. And you have to leave room for error for yourself. Otherwise, you're just gonna look arrogant. You're gonna look like a lot of things, and ain't nobody really gonna want to deal with you because you're not accountable. So I think talking to yourself and verbalizing the things that and it
Yeah,
might be a lot of stuff. You might be on a car ride for 2 hours.
yeah.
You
Golden Empress said having compassion for yourself.
Yes, yeah, you gotta have compassion for yourself. But I think getting it all out and just saying it to yourself, whether you write it down or whatever, I think that's helpful, because that helps me a lot. Like sometimes I feel like I did something so stupid or so dumb or so shameful, and I'm so guilty about it. Like I just have to be like, okay, I did da 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 da, and maybe I should have did this, maybe I should have did that, but I did this. Okay, I take responsibility for it. I did that. You know what? Fine. And it helps me release. It
Yeah,
helps.
that could be a prelude to the forgiving yourself.
Definitely. That's all I
Yeah,
was saying. I think that'll definitely help with forgiving yourself, because at least you can say it to yourself. You can admit it to yourself. I think one of the worst things in the world is lying to yourself. That's so
that's
destructive.
right. But you
It's so
can't.
destructive.
Honestly, you can't lie to yourself. It's like, how? How could you lie to yourself? Or you can convince yourself the the lie didn't happen, or you, I guess, make up your own truth in your
Right.
head. Okay.
Exactly. And I think people do make up their own truth. And I feel like there's a difference between making up your own story and not being accountable, and you just seeing something a different way than someone else saw it.
There is a difference. Yeah, it's a
I do feel
difference.
like there's a difference. And I can agree to disagree with somebody if they're being accountable. Because nothing can change your physical actions once you put them out there. But
Okay. So
yeah.
we got two things so far. You said what, three steps to a healing journey? You basically speaking it out, to yourself, writing it down to yourself, then maybe get into a point to forgive yourself.
And
What
this is for more the mothers too. I'm like, so for the daughters who don't have those mothers available, um what what's something else? And then for the verbalization though, for the realist ladies, if you don't have the mother values, you still, that's also, I feel like, it's still a good step. Just on the flip side of that, from a daughter standpoint, if you're dealing with a lot of trauma, verbalizing those things, because again, you might have repressed a lot of things, um but getting that out. But the third thing, what you think? I'm trying to think. I think women should, you need to find your tribe.
explain that?
Like if you don't have certain women around you, like if you're constantly feeling like
Mm.
you're around women that are not up to par with what you got going on, I truly believe that you should surround yourself. It's like the 80-20 rule, but for your friends. Like I feel like 80% of your friends should pretty much almost be doing better than you. Like, so you can have somebody to have like role models. And I don't want to even say do better than you, but just having those associates and affiliates around you, or acquaintances that's really doing something with their life and keeping themselves up, or have themselves at a certain standard that you might be
Kind of
striving,
like-minded, yeah.
like-minded, and then 20% of your friends might be on your level. But if you're constantly feeling like you're sacrificing who you are to be around somebody, you need to go find a different tribe. Or you need to, there's isolation periods we go through as women. You might need to go through your isolation period and find your tribe. Because I think we deal with a lot of things with our maternal issues. We deal with is the friends that we choose, and the company that we choose to keep. And we're raising children while we're keeping this company, and all of that stuff rubs off on them too. So I feel like finding your appropriate tribe that lives how you lives, on your level, and have the same values as you, so that you can start being in a mothering group. Because at the end of the day, the daughters out there that need that help, they need nurturing. And yes, you do need to talk. I feel like, yes, find a therapist, somebody that that's confidential, for sure, and start really talking through those issues. But you're definitely going to need a group of sisters, or people that's nurturing, that need the nurturing, that you can help nurture, and that can nurture you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because people that go through Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous, is a constant journey, and they do position those people in a circle of individuals who will help them from, backsliding, or just to be there. They have that circle of people even after they do the 12 step or the 12-week program, is somebody that's constantly available, this circle of individuals that will keep them on a straight and narrow, however that looked for that person at the time. So yeah, that's very profound. So the letting it out verbally to yourself, writing it down, going in the car ride, talking about it, just getting it out there and releasing that, not internalizing it, so you
Yeah.
won't get a disease from it, from just keeping it within. After you do that, you should be better able to forgive yourself for whatever. Definitely surround yourself
I
with
want
a
to say
tribe.
forgive your mother too. I want to say you need to forgive yourself, but you also need to forgive the person that hurt.
Absolutely.
Because
Yep.
if you don't get to that point, and there's a lot of things to forgive, so that's a long journey within itself. But just to give people that, I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, forgiving the other person.
Right. Golden Empress said, just be around mentally strong sisters. Yeah.
Yes, that you
Yeah.
with. Yep.
Yeah. Because some people can drain you. Like some people can totally drain you. But I want to say this too. You don't want to be the individual that's draining everybody around you either. So again, that starts with that self-healing, and that being self-aware, but definitely being around strong sisters and like-minded sisters. Not that one that's constantly. Have you ever just met someone, or even befriended someone, like when you interact with them, it's just heavy, like it's just totally heavy. They're pulling all your life so they can survive. I'm sorry, but I can't. meet my demise to make sure you live,
Right,
I'll
right.
be here for you best I can. But when it comes, when you're taking way more from me than you're giving, I'm sorry. Then
And
I'm not the one that's supposed to be in your path at that time.
right. And that's why I really want to start doing this. And I know this is not the most popular thing. We ain't on here talking about gossiping and the next person and stuff like that. I get it. It's not the most interesting topic to people. These people, it's easy to blow it off. It's easy to be like, well, it ain't safe to be in. I'm like, well, you can't be a better mother than you just throwing it all away. So I get that this isn't popular, but I feel like if we be steadfast in this and really build a community around this, it will become something. If you build it, they will come.
That's
So
true.
I feel that we need to just really put down a foundation
Okay.
for the type of mentalities we should have, because I feel like the mother daughter is just it's just a road into really talking about what real sisterhood is, how to really be a friend to each other. I'm tired of hearing, that we don't get along and stuff like that. And I'm tired of it being true. Like, I'm tired of it happening like that. I'm tired of, the different things we have to deal with. And I feel like a lot of those things start at home. Women are do the competition thing and feel like that because they might have felt like they were in competition their whole lives, for so many different reasons. So, and it might be including their mom. So, just really starting to get into those things. I feel like those would be more interesting, more gossipy type topics that'll draw people in. Because that needs to be addressed, with this whole healing network.
Yeah, Golden Empress says she agrees. She actually took some Palo Santo to work and shared it with those who needed some lifting, some I'm thinking uplifting, and that's wonderful. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yes,
Yep.
and I'm like, we do have to connect to the ones. A lot of people I'm connected to is like, it's hard because of social media. We're in so many different places, so it just seems choppy so much. But when you able to fellowship with a fellow sister and get it in, because it's not a lot of us that's locked into the mentality to really look out for each other like that. And I hate to say it. That's why I say the so-called conscious community. I know we're wrapping up now, but that just to bring it back to my post, what we talked about in the beginning, I do feel like amongst the women, there's a lot of inauthenticity, and I can feel it. And I've heard other sisters in the community that can feel it and that have felt it and feel the same way. And like I said, establishing a morale and etiquette about how we should conduct ourselves amongst each other. And we ain't telling you to love everybody. And that's why I wish that we would stop glossing everything over with peace and love. Sometimes you might just have to hit somebody with a how you doing and keep it real.
Yeah. Hey, what up? How you
You
doing?
have to
Hmm.
be this, sometimes being your authentic self, especially if you can't form yourself to say it with some type of genuine, if you gotta say it, if it comes off like that, sweetie, just keep walking, you know.
Yeah.
So addressing these mentalities, addressing, women, because to talk about emotions and periods and all of that stuff, like, yeah, that affects us, that affects our mentalities and all our emotions. So we got to learn how to be aware of that, so we're not coming off a certain kind of way about our sisters, because we're the ones that we want to support each other. Or at least we be saying that. So but yeah, definitely want to talk about that.
Well, this hour went back quick. Very nice. Very interesting. We will meet back here again next
Yes.
week.
Yeah, we might as well just keep doing something weekly, get warmed up, discuss some more topics. What should we talk about next week?
That's a good question.
All right, well, we'll announce it soon.
Yeah, we will. So again, healing on your own. It'll be nice if you can heal with the person that you need that relationship healed with. But if not, it's okay. Do it on your own. Don't stay stagnant in that dark place, in that hurt place. I always say, I saw this play years ago. It was called Come Out of the Rain. Rance Allen played in it. It was the best. I used to go to plays all the time. The best play ever, and it stuck with me. Come out of the rain. that is raining over there. Take 2 steps. You're from under that rain cloud. There are things that you can do to get yourself out of that rain. So again,
Yes,
if you have to heal on your own, do it. Go for it.
yes, 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 yes. So you could be a better mother, better wife,
That's right.
really living the life you want
Better
to
human. Yeah.
live. But
Yeah.
yeah, we appreciate you guys. Peace, love, and light. We'll see you guys soon.
Peace out. Mwah.